Hello, Hillary.
Hi. Are you excited for our harvest episode?
Sure.
Well, besides it being a harvest episode, which is a big deal around here,
Apparently.
we have a really cool guest.
We do, who works with harvests quite a bit.
He does.
The second Phelps that's been on the show.
He is.
Quite a legendary winemaker.
Yes, and just an overall incredible conversations that we had.
Some really cool philosophical discussions. Some very interesting finds on the street in St. Helena.
Yeah, I'm a little worried now for my safety, but I think I'll still venture out. Anyway, stay tuned.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Hillary.
We are back for our kickoff of fall episode.
Kick off of fall.
It's like football scenario, you
It's
know?
the next season. This is the third season of 911 Wine.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
And we are kicking it off with a very cool guest today. Would you like to introduce him?
Sure. Well, let's see. Definitely one of the most impressive winemaking acumens I can think of out there. Started with a notable Chateau Petrus in France, which we'll hear a little bit about. Went to Dominus, currently at Inglenook, as a winemaker there, and also has his own brand, Ad Vivum, Coil. And he is the second Phelps that we've had on the podcast.
Yes.
So welcome to Chris Phelps.
Woo!
Second only in time, not in status.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And he comes with his own logs.
He does. So Chris,
And wine. I brought three bottles of wine.
And wine. The most important part.
so welcome, Chris. Thank you for coming over today, and thanks for bringing like 4 bottles of wine. We've already started off with a nice caprese salad.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our friends Mac.
Yeah.
And some great tomatoes. Anyway, welcome. Thank you. So
I have a feeling this is going to be very
I think this is
fun.
going to be a lot of fun. If it's not, I'm blaming you, Hillary. As
That's
usual.
fine. I'll take it. But we have too many good logs to
We
not
do.
make it fun.
So Chris actually, like 2 years ago, had dropped off his own personal collection of some really great entries. And we've been talking about doing a podcast with him for exactly that long. And finally,
it worked out.
we made it.
Yeah,
We made it.
COVID interrupted us for a little while.
COVID,
Quite
life, bunch of baloney. But we're here.
Yay!
So, let's start off with talking about what we're drinking, because that's the most important part
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Well, the first wine is 2019 Coil Pinot Noir. So
Yeah.
Josh Phelps, my oldest son, is the guy you had on chronologically before me. And so this is the wine, the brand that we jointly make. And so this Pinot Noir comes not from Napa, as you might guess, but it comes from Signal Ridge, which is a sub-AVA of Mendocino Ridge, which is in Anderson Valley. And it's very high elevation by our standards, over 2,600 feet. And beautiful view of the Pacific. And the great thing is it's above the fog line. We can get super ripe fruit early. This is 13.1 alcohol, which is remarkable. And phenolics, flavor, really, really appropriately ripe. There is no new oak, so I think hopefully you can see the fruit and the spice, that real Pinot character, and it's not obscured by oak or some other cheap trick.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's beautiful. Very authentic. And the first thing that kind of stands out to me is that classic label. And it looks like something you might find almost in Europe.
Yeah, a little Burgundian perhaps influence. And you might notice the swirly red coil type of thing, and indeed it's called coil.
Yep.
You might wonder why it's called coil.
Well, let's hear it.
Yes, is there a story?
So, number one, Mr. Morozoli, being a farmer yourself, it's a nod to the cyclical nature of agriculture. As we progress from dormancy, bud break, flowering, harvest, leaf drop, pruning again. That beautiful cycle that we not only gives us job security, but it's a phenomenal thing that those vines come alive every year. And then also, I speak French and spent a lot of time, lived in Bordeaux twice, but been there dozens of times. When you're speaking about wine in French, you don't use the word balance that much. You're more likely to use the word tension. Tension in English often is like has a negative
I was gonna say it almost seems negative.
connotation. Yeah, like there's if you're called tense or there's a lot of tension in the room. But in this case, when you're talking about wine, it's what makes something, whether it's a piece of music, a piece of art, a great caprese salad like this one, or a wine. It's something in the nature of that thing that makes it go from pretty good to something that's really remarkable. So my aspiration whenever I make a wine is that it have tension. And so to tell a winemaker in France that their wine has tension is a compliment.
Yeah.
So
that's great, because you think of all these different components that you have that are all kind of working together, but also have that left and right balance.
And there's something you can't really define what gives the wine tension. You could refer to acidity, because this has great natural acidity. You could refer to the tannins, which are not overbearing. It has the tannins a good Pinot should have. But also, did you ever take physics in high school? Probably.
I didn't.
Or in college? No?
I've never taken a physics class.
Well, I'll tell you, physics 101 here. When you compress a spring, you're actually creating potential energy. Because when you release that spring, depending on how big it is, you get a pretty big release of kinetic energy. So imagine when you put a wine in your mouth, if it releases energy, if you feel something, then it had tension. It had this release of energy. So that's sort of the reasoning behind Coil. And also it wasn't being used. So
that's fantastic. That's
a
really good philosophy. I mean, just wine philosophy too.
Yeah, and so it's not sort of random. It's something we spend a lot of time thinking about.
Nice.
I love the cork.
Beautifully done.
Too.
Yeah, this is the cork for that. Yeah.
Cool. Yep. So where did you? Well, maybe before we get into the hows and the wheres, let's open it up with a good initial police log.
Okay.
I want to talk about my log later too. But
Okay.
Launch.
Well, this is, I feel like, a very classic St. Helena. It was at 3:28 in the afternoon. Report of a suspicious man in a yellow and orange safety vest ringing the doorbell of a house on Sulphur Springs Avenue. When no one answered the door, he went to the backyard. Police confirmed it was just PG&E checking the meters. The incident happened at 2:15 and was reported to police later.
Right. Very detailed. The neighborhood watch in full effect.
Well, and why did it take an hour and 15 minutes to be reported? Like, if someone's in my backyard, I'm probably...
Can't let someone know about
I may
it.
be calling in the moment, but...
They might be gone and,
This is a very fun one. This is the old police log. Hillary, what police logs are we looking at?
Yes, I'm so sorry. We are doing April 2023. And then I did April 2007 in honor of the year you released your own label.
Wow.
We do a little bit of research.
I'm honored.
And by we, I mean Hillary.
I am impressed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have the 2007
They
log.
do, and they look ancient. They look like, they're from the 70s, 80s, but it's just 2007.
This was made on Gutenberg's press because I can hardly read it. But in 2007, March 24th at 9:50 in the morning, report of two scruffy-looking males in the area of Hunt and June carrying bags going door to door. Officer contacted the suspects who were not breaking the solicitation ordinance. Maybe they were just getting an early jump on Halloween.
Ooh.
Maybe. I have a long one. Are you ready? Actually, I have two long ones, but I'll just start with one long one.
Okay, Hillary.
Okay.
This deserves a little more
I was
Pinot.
gonna say.
Yep.
This is thirsty work, you guys.
All right.
10:55
p.m. on a Saturday night, a bouncer at a Main Street bar was reportedly attacked by a man. The bouncer had confronted the man after the man's baggy pants accidentally fell down while dancing. The man attacked the bouncer with a standing sign, hit him with his fist, and also attacked the bartender. Police later arrested the 41-year-old Zephyr Cove, Nevada man on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. He was cited, released, and with a signed promise to appear in court. One officer was driving another suspect to jail in connection with the previous call, so there was only one officer left to deal with the bar incident. Neighboring agencies were called in to help.
What a night at
So is
a Main Street bar.
the sign a deadly weapon?
Apparently so. I just hope Charlie was. This was
A sign of the times.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, he took his dancing baggy pants very seriously.
he really did. Well, we got to keep Anna's classy.
Of course.
You know, we can't have people losing clothes at Anna's.
No, that's too scandalous.
Especially in the
Our town has a reputation to uphold.
Exactly. Pants are required.
Chris, what do you got? So
what I did with my multi-page, I should say, 4-page chronicle here, over a period of, I don't know, I'm going to say 15 or 20 years, probably in the 80s, 90s, I cut out, because you can see these are yellowed, I cut out some of the best hits from the police log. And it's, it starts at 1:15 in the morning. So I put them all in chronological order. So it starts at 1:15 in the morning on one day, and it finishes after midnight the next day.
And how many year span are we talking here?
10 or 15 years.
Oh,
I don't know. I really don't know.
That's artwork. You could put that on a mural and probably sell it for the low
$22.
Maybe
$7.
Maybe I can finally retire. Thank you. But I can throw out a couple here.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1900 block of Vineyard at 6:15 in the morning. Neighbor reported woman was making a disturbance with her broom.
Was she flying on it?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say.
1:15 in the morning.
You know what that is? That is a girl that got in a fight with her husband or her boyfriend and was angry cleaning.
Sounds like you've had experience
No,
with this.
you know how some women, like when they get mad, they just like rage clean?
No, Hillary has absolutely rage cleaned.
This is what it reminds
I have not
me of.
experienced that firsthand, but I'll take your word for it. I hope not to experience that. Anyway, here's another one. At 10:45 in the morning, 2000 block of Oliver, a woman reported a dog with a license walked into her house. We don't know what type of license, but it's intriguing. 12:58 p.m. Woman reported vehicle northbound on Main with 10-month-old baby hanging out the window.
The fact that she knew it was 10 months old was impressive.
I asked myself the same thing. Someone called 911 to ask what time it was. Yeah. And the dispatch informed the caller that often on the news in the bottom right-hand corner you can find the time.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet. They gave him
It's something.
an answer.
Definitely something.
But then later, an officer went over to check on the individual. So
Probably smart.
yeah, anyway,
Oh my
a few
god.
highlights, but just a day in the life of
Amazing.
Helena.
Well, that's a treasure.
These citations go great with.
Do they do this-
with Pinot Noir? I think they're a great pairing with Pinot Noir.
I think so too.
Because we're getting a little mellow.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting too excited. And,
Pinot and policing.
yeah,
Yeah.
P&P.
Cab and criminal. I don't
Yeah.
know. How
False alarm at 1200 Spring Street at right around midnight, set off by helium balloon.
That would have been like Vasconi's.
yeah. Could have been. So, in your time in France, did you ever run across anything like the St. Helena police log?
No, but I had a couple of incidents that happened to me that would have definitely made the police
I
log.
think we need to hear
I
about
think
these.
well, I want to start from the beginning. So, what brought you into wine, and how did that precipitate your move to France?
I'll try to keep it short. I grew up in a winemaking family. You may not have known that. My parents made wine in an underground cellar. I dug for them.
Okay.
I was not an indentured servant, but I hand dug a cellar in the backyard. This is in Livermore, East Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And they had usually 2 barrels of wine a year. They'd come up to Napa and get Zinfandel or Cabernet. And sometimes they use local grapes. And, but as a teenager, as a kid, you're not necessarily that into what your parents are doing. So I didn't really, frankly, pay a lot of attention to it. It wasn't until I was at UC Davis pre-med and kind of deciding I didn't want to go the doctor route that I met my first wine geek friend. I put myself to college fighting fires, wildfires.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19 fighting fires in Idaho for BLM, and I met my first wine geek friend. Usually at 19, well, I had the experience of having a friend that wanted to talk about wine all the time, but long story short, he ended up coming to Davis getting in the program. And he took about 2 years for him to convince me to go into vitinology. And then we visited my parents, I think for Thanksgiving, and he said, "Your parents' wine is unbelievably good." And it all kind of fit together, like, oh, my parents make good wine. I still have a few bottles, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And so, I wouldn't say I had a pedigree, but I had some connection. And I ended up doing my degree in vitinology at Davis. So I was going to get a job hopefully as a winemaker someday, but I didn't really have a plan. But I loved French. So I met a visiting professor from the University of Bordeaux at Davis, and he said, "You should come to Bordeaux and study there." So I did the last year of their winemaking degree, and which kind of fit all the pieces together for me. It was like, because they've been at this for centuries. It's a lot newer here, the idea of wine. In fact, they don't talk about the wine business there. If you might be in wine, but you're not in the wine business. It's interesting.
Really? The industry is not the industry.
Yeah, it's not. They look at it's just part of what they do. I'm in wine. It's here. It can be an affectation. It can be like something you're trying to impress people with. There, it's just what you do. So, and then I had the great fortune of 1982 of doing an internship for Christian Moex. And at the end of my 5-month internship, he asked me to be the first winemaker at Dominus here in Napa Valley. I didn't know that he was starting a project here, and that really launched my whole career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the short version. But
very cool.
And now 40 years on, I'm still making wine.
Nice. How long did you make wine for Christian?
At Dominus, I was there just over 12 years.
Nice. And that was during the time when he built the winery in Yonkers.
I left just before it was built,
Got it.
ironically.
Which is a really cool winery. It's all just made from rocks in cages,
Yep.
right?
Gabions, those are called gabions.
Cages. Huh.
Yeah, so rock, stainless steel wire cages,
Yep.
basically with like a river rock in them, stacked on top of each other
Amazing.
to make not the structural elements, but they're very cleverly involved in the whole structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then I went to Caymus after that for like 7 years.
Yep.
Went on to Swanson for a bit, and then even before I left Swanson, well before I left, 2007, I started making Ad Vivum, as Hillary correctly noted.
Very cool. Well done, Hill.
Thank you. Thank you, Google.
Now, I never thought I'd be in the wine business myself because it's a lot of work, as Mr. Morzo is discovering. It sounds easy, but
Yeah.
there's a lot. There's 1,000 things involved.
Yeah. Well, for a big success story, there's a lot of people that struggle, right? But everyone sees the success and wants to be that same
Like podcasting.
thing. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
We're a successful podcast.
If I'm as good at winemaking as you are podcasting someday, I know I'll have made it.
Wow. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
I know it sounds like I'm pandering, but I'm not.
No, I'll take it.
So when you started at Vivian, then
Ad Vivum.
Ad Vivum.
You got to practice your Latin.
Yeah. What does that mean?
So I actually bottled that first vintage from Sleeping Lady Vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
As you may know, it's the southernmost vineyard in the Yountville AVA,
Cool.
owned by the Bettinelli family, which we all know those guys. And it's really, those connections in the valley that I think, we're all in business and we're all scrabbling, to make a living and that stuff. But it's the relationships. Even just sitting here talking to you guys, I've known you guys your whole lives, really.
Yeah.
And not that we hang out that much, but it's just relationships that kind of bind the whole community together. So, drawing on the relationship, I was Larry sold me a little fruit in 2007, made this incredible wine. Because starting in 1990, you may not know this, he and I started doing experiments. Because you think about it, he was farming out in Pope Valley.
Yep.
He was farming in Rutherford, had some other locations, and he really was not satisfied. He wanted to his goal, he told me, was to grow the best fruit, the best Cabernet in Napa Valley. He wasn't getting paid enough for his fruit. You need to have money to plow literally back into your vineyard to produce better fruit, right? So that post-phylloxera of the 80s period where new clones, new row direction, new trellising, Larry was wanting to look at it all.
Yep.
So we met just sort of randomly, and next thing you know, he's given me a ton of fruit every year from different vineyards. Sometimes we'd harvest 2 sides of the vine separately, make the wine separately.
And you're just doing it 1 ton a year, experimenting.
Yes.
What works best.
Yes. And so we did this from 1990 until, well into the aughts.
And are you making this at
So
the
for
winery?
maybe 25 years we did this.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. And you're doing this at the winery that you're
No, this was like
working or
homemade wine
Home. Cool.
for a long time.
Just like your folks.
Then it started, I think I made some at Caymus,
Mm-hmm.
sort of off the record. Then I made some at Swanson. And, we got a little more. But Larry was buying great French barrels the whole time. We made it right.
Yeah.
But it was not commercial. And our families drank it. Larry, of course, the most important thing was to learn from the wine we made. Also, he could provide samples to potential customers.
Oh.
Next thing you know, hey, my buddy Chris works over at Dominus. He made this wine from this. You might want to try it. And he starts, things start coming together. He's getting paid more for his fruit. So his objective is coming,
Right.
to fruit, literally. And then, let's see, in fast forward to 2005. Oh, and also I should add, the Sacramento wine at the church Chris and I go to,
Mm-hmm.
that was a Sacramento wine there for about 25 years.
Oh, no way.
Remember, it was always red wine,
Yeah.
Cabernet?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still a few cases there.
Probably.
But so it had and our families drank it. It was a great thing. But 2005, we started working with the Reese Ranch, which came to be named Sleeping Lady, and I knew there was something. I've been around. Maybe I wasn't born here like you guys, but I know. I have a feeling, and I think I know when I walk on a really special piece of ground.
Mm-hmm.
You feel something, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you know. And then once you have a chance to work with the fruit and make wine, it can all it can be very exciting. And I had this kind of epiphany with that fruit. 2005, still experimental. 2006, we're playing with different clones, now at Sleeping Lady.
Mm-hmm.
And 2007, I crushed this wine into a tank at Swanson. And I climbed on top of it. I'll never forget climbing on top of the tank, taking a smell. The juice was purple. We're going to pour Ad Vivum in a minute here, the 2018. And I just had one of those moments, And Josh had been telling me I needed to do something if I ever wanted to retire, do something on my own, and he was right. And so things just kind of came together. And one thing that really stuck out, there's a lot of Napa Valley Cabernet, okay? I knew it was high end, but even at the high end of things, they can kind of be super similar to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That wine tastes like that wine, that vineyard is not much different, I don't know. But there's something different, at least for the blocks I get from Sleeping Lady.
Mm-hmm.
In music, we talk about a grace note or a top note that is over the other phrasing, and it's that beautiful, I used to play trumpet, so it's like, at that top range. And there's something hovering over this wine that is like a black raspberry.
Cool.
There's something different, I think you'll find in the aroma and the flavor that sets it apart from other Napa Cabs.
Cool.
So
And this was the first Sleeping Lady single vineyard.
2007.
The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I made that wine in 2007, it didn't even have the name
Cool.
yet.
Yeah.
So there was, back to your question, Hillary, which is I know taking forever to get to.
No, you're good.
But there was no label. There was nothing on the cork.
Yeah.
And there was no capsule yet. Before I could bring it to market, I had to have a name.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't call it Phelps. Not going to work.
Sure.
Obvious. But back to getting hit by lightning in 2005.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of years before,
Mm-hmm.
lost 2 friends
Yep.
on this scout trip up my Mount Whitney, and you guys probably remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have experiences that remind us how precious life is, and life is. I'm sure you guys, we could tell stories all night about how that. You're in healthcare, and you're both. Chris, you've been an active duty serviceman, so thank you both for your service, by the way. But you know what I'm talking about. And so But I really think that life is our greatest gift, and if we use wine, I would say appropriately, it might enhance our life. So vivum is a made-up Latin word. Mm-hmm. Don't feel bad if you didn't know it, Chris, because it actually made it up. But vivere in Italian or Latin is to live. Yep. Vinum is wine. Put them together, you get vivum. And as it says on the back label, it's where wine and life meet. So it's that intersection. And ad that comes before it is a 2-letter little word that means you're traveling intentionally to that place, to that intersection. Yeah. So that's kind of my whole thing. So it's highly personal. The logo on the front is goes back to Babylonia and the Kabbalah, thousands of years old, Mesopotamia. It's a symbol of fertility in life. Cool. So it all just kind of...
First people to make wine, probably.
Maybe.
I think, yeah.
Maybe.
Wow.
But ancient symbols, an ancient tradition of making wine, and an homage to life. Yeah. Which is, what else matters more than that?
Yeah.
That's what we've got.
I love it.
Beautiful.
So
well done.
I'm inspired.
Well done.
So hopefully the wine will live up to this grandiose. Yeah, we should try it. We can actually save the white for last, the Coil.
Okay. If I grab myself another glass.
Sure, you can
go for it. Of course. Of course, it's not my house. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, while we're pouring that, I've got a fun old police log from 2007. Again, March 24th. 10 o'clock in the morning, a Tainter resident reported a wild cat got into her house and is now under her bed. Officers responded. Problem resolved.
Did they get the cat or did the cat run away?
That's a great question.
Was there discharge of a firearm?
I don't know.
How about report of a suspicious situation near Maine Grayson? A man reportedly got out of his car in the middle of the street and started running with his mouth open.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever been able to run though with my mouth closed. Do you run with your mouth closed and just breathe out of your nose?
I have nothing to say about that. I never
That's
has
a really
that come across
question.
It's never come across my mind.
Like how you run?
I don't know.
Oh, I breathe through my mouth when I run.
I nose.
Oh, wow. Maybe I'm the weird one.
In fact, I remember when your father taught me how to run in RLS.
Oh.
He said, keep your mouth closed, breathe through your nose. It's filtered air. It'll make you run faster. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's cute. You believe that.
But thank you, Tom.
Wow. You'll learn something every day. I'm going to go back to my log for a minute. My day in the life of St. Helena. 2:41 p.m. Man reported waiter at restaurant spilled food on his wife. She is now in the bathroom naked, and the management refuses to do anything about it. You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
What? I would love to know the restaurant. Wow. Good for them.
Yeah. I don't...
Speaking of restaurants, favorite place to eat, St. Helena?
My favorite place. I have to say I'm kind of really into Cook.
Oh, we love it. Cook. We love Cook. We're
Jude, and
he's so good.
And it's like I hope someone will say it someday. You're welcome to about my winemaking, but you can't sit on your hands. Mm-hmm. You always have to be looking for some little way to make things better every time you go at it. And I think Jude, he continues to refine. He's obviously doing great.
Yeah.
He's not open on the weekend because he can afford to take that time off to be with his family, which is fantastic. But he crushes it the other 5 days of the week. Mm-hmm. I mean, you try to get a reservation, right?
Totally.
You better plan ahead. Yeah. But he continues to, even some of the same dishes, they're like better than they were, the month before.
Mm-hmm. So great.
So he doesn't take his eyes off the ball. He's always refining, always using fresh stuff and seasonal vegetables. And I don't know.
I kind of love that it's only open on the weekends.
It's the best.
It's great.
It almost makes it, I know it's not a local secret, but it almost makes it seem like a local secret.
And I think it's eating dinner at the counter there
is the best.
Is like underrated, I mean, that is just a great thing. You always meet someone. Mm-hmm. You feel like you're in a quarter cafe in Rome or Paris or something.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have Ad Vivum there?
Ad Vivum is there. Okay. Coil Chenin Blanc is there currently.
Cool. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They're big supporters.
So in the
well, I don't know if that colors my impression of the restaurant. I think it's the food I can,
Pair with the
works.
wine.
yeah, but I can separate those two things that they both.
Yeah, that's good. And with that same tradition of always improving, how do you feel you're always improving in your winemaking? What are you learning and changing?
Well, some people see it as limiting. I think for your wine, you can choose from different blocks or different areas. I just worked out with Bentonelli's a 10-year plan, so I'm looking at the next 10 years, sourcing from the same exact spots. So some people say, oh, well, it's so limited, how boring, how limiting. You'd be surprised, once you define your world to be that, how intricate it can be. Sometimes I won't harvest. I'll stop picking at some point in the block and reserve the rest for 3 days later. It might drive them crazy a little bit, but I mean, you don't do that unless you really have a justification for it. But just might be the ripening that year. 2015, I started, and I have stuck with this practice of doing 20 to 25% barrel ferment at warm temperature.
Nice.
And then combining that with the portion that I do in stainless steel. And there are 1,000 decisions that go into making wine, and most of them are really boring. I won't tell you how I prepare new barrels, which I do with steam. No, but there's just, it's the sum of all those details, and they morph every year. I'm always thinking about, okay, what are the grapes like this year? What is it giving me? How do you manage? The harvest date is the most important thing in the world. And I was having a conversation with these guys from Australia today that they asked, does your decision making change over the years? Because we tasted several vintages, and I said, well, it probably does. In my mind, I'm still, like I was trained at Chateau Petrus, I'm still going through the same SOP, but I'm sure my taste and my approach has changed, hopefully gotten better over the years. But I think you have to allow yourself to evolve. And our tastes evolve. Chuck Wagner at Caymus told me one time, you're not making wine for yourself. Napa Valley winemaker, of course I'm making wine for myself. Who else matters? Right? No ego around here. But he's right, because you're making it for the rest of the world. So think about how wine can be universal. And listen to people. Like even in our conversation tonight, I've just poured Ad Vivum 2018 for you. So I'm anxious, which is a generous year, as you know, Chris, in many ways. Crop was a little more than usual, which is welcome after a lot of lean years. And also there's a generosity, I think, on the palate, just the way this wine is structured, the refinement of the tannins. And it's also, at 5 years in, it's losing a little bit of its adolescent fat, and it's settling down, and it's still vibrant, it's still got lots of fruit.
Yeah.
Fruit's not going anywhere soon, and I think it's not only broad on the palate, but it's also quite deep. So in my mind, it's kind of spherical, as this complete sort of round character.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it.
It's scrumptious.
Wow.
The deep in the fruit that you just said, that's what spoke to me. That's what I'm tasting.
And I think that nose on it is very beautiful. Like, it's very elegant and ethereal. And you,
so that
I can't taste the barrel ferment, but I know it's there. It just adds weight to it.
I don't want you to see it.
It's good.
See, when I pour you a wine I've worked on, I would rather you didn't go, great use of French oak
great use of the grapes.
Yeah, but you just recognize. Yeah. And I think the ultimate compliment, you're also welcome to give. I know I keep suggesting compliments, you can give me, but if you were to say, I suggested black raspberry earlier, which is a thing I have with this wine, but you might say, I know I'm supposed to think of 10 adjectives out of respect for your wine, because after all, we're all Napa Valley natives here. Or 40 years I like to think of myself as native. I'm not. But the ultimate compliment might be, I can't think of one word to describe it. Could you just pour me another glass, please?
Nice.
That's the best compliment.
Because wine is for pleasure. It's a beverage at the end of the day. I hope I didn't make it to try to impress you or anyone else. Just that it's for our mutual enjoyment.
Yeah.
And if it can accomplish that, then it's a success. What is success after all?
Beautiful.
That's an even deeper question. I don't think we have time for that.
I mean, if I make
The
a
measure
couple,
of success.
if you make a couple nickels on the side, okay. But
Yep.
The best, speaking of our mutual church, the best homily I ever heard was, I think it was Father Michael, but he had talked about the relationship in wine and the three, like, sacrifice, right? Crush the grapes, there's difficulty, there's hardship, right? And then you savor it, you enjoy it, right? That's the second step. And then you share it with people that you like and you love. And kind of those three things. And in wine, it's similar to life. Like there's hardships, right? There's enjoyment, and there's also sharing, and like all those three things how they combine. And I adulterated that.
I don't know if I was there,
but
though.
really, really good.
Yeah.
He was
Nicely
fantastic
done.
guy.
Nicely done. Yeah.
And if I could have captured that instead of just in my brain.
Well, I appreciate he's not around anymore, so.
He was a great guy. He was like a Chinese linguist in the Navy, and then he became a priest. And anyway, very cool. But yeah, that's always kind of stuck with me, the three S's of winemaking in life. So.
Yeah, but being able to, at the end of the day, to share it and hopefully bring some. I mean, it's a personal thing. You don't have to like my wine. Mm-hmm. I really try not to let my feelings be hurt because someone doesn't like it. It doesn't mean they don't like me. You don't take it personally, but it is really cool when someone really likes it. But it's for pleasure, and sometimes hearing the story of a wine affects how the wine feels to you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's a whole thing too that I've thought more about lately. We get so into describing a wine in painstaking detail. You know, how does the wine make you feel? Mm-hmm. Think about that.
This brings me joy.
Well, that's
a good compliment. That may be the best compliment.
I don't know, we might have to stop right there. That's
It does, though.
I don't know. Where do we go from there?
It brings me joy.
Wow. Well,
Not all wines bring me
thank
joy.
you.
It's perfect.
I don't know if anyone's ever told me that, so thank you
It's
very
true.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for
I
that.
won't even try to go past that. I love it.
Well, I have a log,
Okay.
and I have a personal anecdote to go with the log.
Oh boy.
So this was Monday. A man got a call from someone falsely claiming to have kidnapped his 24-year-old daughter and threatening to kill her unless the father paid him. The police called police during the call. Sorry, this is not joyful.
This is a real light joyful.
I really took it.
So can I just take a moment and say how I love how now wine goes from philosophical, ethereal, really deep conversation to like someone's trying to kill their daughter on Main
So,
Street.
Hillary, I want to thank you for the segue. It was very well done. But actually, if you've ever, so when I was in the fire service, you're around dispatch all the time, and this is actually life at dispatch.
You're right.
1 minute you're joking with your colleagues, the next minute there's something really serious happens.
Yeah,
so,
this sounds like
so this is real life, Chris.
And I think the three of us have a unique perspective to be able to switch between the two.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So
I'll
anyway,
drink to that.
it was a prank caller.
Okay.
The suspect had the man called his daughter. She was okay. It
Wow.
was a scam. So I got scam called just last month.
Okay.
And normally I'm very good at just not knowing, but they had left a message on my mom's machine and said, "This is San Mateo Police Department. We're trying to get a hold of Hillary.
Whoa.
Please call. Here's our number."
Wow.
I Googled the number at San Mateo Police Department, not thinking about it. I'm like, oh, they need more information from me on a case I did. I do forensic sexual assault on the side. So I'm like, this makes sense. Not processing that. I don't ever really do San Mateo, but so I call, I Google the number, it says San Mateo. I call and I leave a message. "Hi, this is Hillary. I assume this is my cell phone. Easier to reach me."
Wow.
They call back. "Hi, you didn't appear in court today. Were you aware of this? We had you as an expert witness today. We had to postpone trial because you weren't there."
What?
And I fully believe it. I'm almost in tears on the phone, like, I didn't, what? And it all...
But you Googled the number and it was the actual...
number and it said San Mateo Police Department.
Okay.
I should have Googled San Mateo Police Department to see what number popped up. But I did the inverse where I just Googled the number.
Wow.
And it should have clicked because the guy's like, "You can even look up the number." And we're going on. He gives me, I asked for his badge number. He gives me one. He tells me the judge's information. He gives me all this stuff. And it's 20 minutes on the phone. And my friend's next to me. She's like, "This is a scam." I was like, "I don't think so. Like, I do go to court as a...
What? Yeah. Expert witness.
Expert witness. Like, this makes sense." And they're like, "Yeah, you signed at my mom's address."
Okay.
Which is my, like, billing address. And they're like, "Yeah, you signed. You said you'd be there." And I'm like, there's no way. They're like, you need to come to the police station tonight. I'm like, I'm in South Carolina. Like, there's no way I'm coming in. Then it finally clicked when they're like, well, we need to do a bail then. Can you wire us
no way.
bail? And then I was like, I need to speak with your supervisor. And they're like, no, I'm even calling you after hours. I was like, if you're a sheriff's department, you have a supervisor.
Whoa.
And then I hung up. And then, yeah.
That's
Crazy.
insane.
So then I called San Mateo Police Department. I'm like, just...
So then you Googled the proper San Mateo Police Department
I did.
number.
Well, I actually called St. Helena first, and I said, I just want to let you know I'm getting, like, they're calling this number, like, reported at San Mateo. I called San Mateo, and they said, yes, we've been getting this complaint a lot. It's this real guy's name. I mean...
But she's spearfishing actual providers for this.
Well, and I don't know. I don't know if it just, he happened to pick someone that I was like, this makes sense. I would be an expert witness.
Wow. Because that's kind of a niche market.
And then I called my boss too, almost in tears too, and she's like, I don't mean to laugh at you, but like, this is really good. Like,
they put some work into it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I mean, very professional. You're on a recorded line. Please repeat that you've understood this.
Whoa.
If you hang up, I will be alerted, and this is like you saying like, and as we continue on, like, you've given up your like defense attorney. Anyway, that's my story. Prank calls, and even the best of us can get them. I'm not happy note.
That's one for the books.
That is. I don't think wine guys get a lot of prank calls. Maybe
for expert witness.
They don't. That's
never
been a problem. Never been a problem. Have you? Okay, so Chris, have you?
I'm looking through the police light now, and it looks so lame compared to Hillary's.
Well, I'm glad I didn't fly home from South Carolina and go to San Mateo Police Department and turn myself in.
Well, now I want to know if Chris has ever been in the police log.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I know I have. I'm trying to remember why.
Or perhaps a accessory to, like, help, maybe in a helpful method, not like in an accessory to a crime.
I think I know what you're getting at here. Yeah. Like, have you ever been walking and found something on the ground?
Oh, well, yes. Well, in fact, no, but I can't remember. Okay. I don't know if this made the police log or not, but I was involved with the police. So, I was out innocently, as you know, accompanying my daughter, pushing her two small children in a stroller on her daily 10-mile run.
This is perhaps the best alibi I've ever heard. I was innocently with my daughter, pushing her children.
The editorial, this is like not supposed to be an interactive thing right now. I mean, I'm gonna kind of finish.
I'm just saying.
I know.
If I was a cop, I would think that was suspicious.
Yeah, but you're not.
We can call my scam guy. He could really get into
it. I know a couple.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm being scammed right now. So, as I was saying, we're coming back into town after being up the canyon, and I notice what looks like a plastic kid's gun in the gutter on the south side of town. South side of the tracks, you know. Whoa.
I'm shocked you went there.
And I am not a gun person. I know very little about guns. And but my daughter yells back. She says, "Yeah, Dad, you ought to check that out." So I circle back. I kick this gun-looking thing, pistol, with my toe, and it's got a little weight to it. I can tell. So okay.
It's not a squirt gun.
No, that's what I thought at first, actually. And then because of the weight, I said maybe I've never played laser tag. Maybe it's like a laser tag gun or something. It looked kind of plasticky, so I don't touch it with my hand. Very smart. I've watched a few movies, you know. So I use a plastic bag to pick up the gun. Well, I don't know it's a gun yet, but it's a gun-like, and it's got weight to it. It's like, okay, so I drop it in my bike bag, go to the police station. I did not, to my credit, run into the police station and say, I've got a gun. But if you want to get the attention of the entire police department, you go in and you quietly announce that out in your bike bag, you have a gun you found, you think. So I've got 4 or 5 officers around surrounding my bike, and the sergeant says, you can go ahead and take it out of the bike. I said, if you don't mind, you've probably had a little more firearm training than I have, if you don't mind. So he took it out of the bag. He said, gentlemen, as you can see here, you know, this is a Glock, I forget the number, semi-auto with a full clip. Just lying in the gutter, in town, a few blocks from my house in St. Helena.
In the morning.
In the morning. This is about 8:30 in the morning. I'm just thankful that I found it before
That's everybody.
child.
The kids go to school that way.
Absolutely.
Right that way.
Absolutely. So,
Good catch.
yeah.
I would have given you a great citizen award for that. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah.
Judge the pet parade.
yeah.
The ultimate
I
honor.
don't know if I'm worthy, but anyway, I've got other police log, interaction, but we might have to do another session sometime.
Round 2. You'll be our first repeat guest.
Wow, I aspire to that.
Yeah, our first return guest.
I mean,
That has become my new long-term goal.
I like it.
we had a great time with Josh. Speaking of Josh, tell us about the father and son duo and the teamwork that you guys have with your
Well,
with your
it's
wine.
it's evolved over time, but from the time he gently suggested that I start my own brand in 2007, when I might add, he started his first brand, which was called Taken.
Yep.
You might remember, because all the good names were taken,
Perfect.
which led to Available and Complicated. But he now owns Grounded Wine Company, and produces far more cases than I do. But I help him on a technical basis, and he helps me on a sort of a business sales and marketing basis. So it's a very synergistic thing. Today we were bouncing things off each other, and it feels like that part of our relationship has matured, and that we really sort of rely on each other for different things. I would have never done my own wine venture without him.
Wow. So he was really
He was a
Really
catalyst.
pushed you.
I would have never done it.
cool.
I would have said no way. Because, as you know, starting your own small brand is daunting, and there's a lot there you don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think you've gotten some advice from Josh too,
I sure have. Yeah.
because he's been generous. When you figure, and you're welcome to ask me for help if I can help in any way too.
Yeah.
Whether it's blending or something else, reach out, because again, it's back to those relationships we have as a community that are ultimately, that's the most rewarding part of it.
Some of the best advice I've gotten recently was one of my friends said, "Hey, focus on the industry people. They're the ones that you're with. They're the ones that have the best advice, and talk to them. Share what you're doing with them, and
Not
that
the
will pay off
influencers.
a lot more. The influence is probably not as
We
high
had-
of a priority.
Well,
But
sometimes we tend to go down a rabbit hole with our own little
Mhm.
project, and we kind of have blinders on, and we don't look around, and sometimes, especially guys, we don't want to ask for advice.
Mhm.
But there's nothing wrong with asking for advice and bouncing things. Hey, taste
Yeah.
this, or I'm thinking about selling this way,
Mhm.
or here's how I do my accounting.
Sure.
I mean, we all have things to learn. You never know it all.
We pulled you away from your QuickBooks tonight. to
You
come
did.
out and do this.
For that, I'm grateful. I don't think it's the only reason I came. Just so you know, I would have come anyway.
Well, you're going to get the 911 bump, which is 3 more followers, maybe.
Our moms will definitely reach out.
Man, my mom actually. I'm going to share this with my mom, and
Good.
so
I love it.
yeah, 91 still going strong. So.
Okay, so Chris, I wanted to talk about Inglenook for like a little bit.
Please.
So you went to Inglenook after, let's see, it was Caymus and then Swanson and then Inglenook?
Yeah, I started consulting actually 2015. By harvest of 2015, I became a consultant after 12 years at Swanson.
Mm-hmm.
In your neighborhood.
Right
Not that
there.
we saw each other that much, but
I was gonna say, you've really
I
narrowed it down.
could have thrown rocks at you if I wanted to. And then I started consulting for Swanson and a couple other things, and then Philippe Bascol came from Chateau Margaux to be the director of winemaking at Inglenook. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a big Francophile. I love speaking French, and I love French wine. And so anyway, it was suggested by our mutual friend Catherine
Mm-hmm.
that this guy Philippe is here. He's like, his English isn't that great yet, and
Oh, perfect. You could be the translator.
no, but I could maybe I could just
Meet
meet up with him.
Yeah.
And I said, God, I'd love to. So we started going out to lunch once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
You bring a few of the wines you're working on, I'll bring a few of the wines I'm working on. So he would bring a couple of barrel samples or whatever. I bring a couple, we just talk, and like for me, it was great speaking French, and then fast forward to a year later, I'm consulting for Inglenook because he persuades me to like. He says, unfortunately, the director of Chateau Margaux has passed away. I'm going to be going back to Chateau Margaux, and maybe you could replace me. I go, I don't want a full-time gig. I'd be happy to consult or something, or continue consulting. And he said, well, so we worked out this half-time job.
Cool.
And so I've been working half-time since beginning of 2017 for Inglenook.
Nice.
And it's been one of the most pleasurable experiences because of the people, sure, and the Coppola family, but also because of the land. And as you know, from being a neighbor, that land is remarkable. It's like over 1,700 acre piece, and it's historical in many different ways, from native peoples through the generations and the different families that have been caretakers. And the Coppolas do consider themselves caretakers, not owners, which is, listen to that. So yeah, I continue there today, and it's enriched my life.
Beautiful.
So maybe another time we'll talk about those wines and more about that property.
I love it. Yeah, such a great spot, and the fact that you're continuing on that winemaking legacy there with them is really special. So
yeah, thanks. Good question. Thanks.
Absolutely impressive.
Does anyone have a fun log to like finish us out?
Let's see.
I have a dead raccoon at the elementary school that Public Works took care of.
Don't we have that every time?
I know.
This is a fun one. Monday, May 1st. This is a recent one. 2023. 2:17 in the morning. On a Monday morning. Wow, they were raging. Police tried to pull over a silver BMW near Main and Grayson, but the driver failed to yield. The car finally stopped on Pratt Avenue, and the people inside fled on foot in the dark. Police searched the area and didn't find them, but they impounded the car.
Oh.
Do you think they went back to the CIA barracks?
I think they absolutely did.
100%.
I have one where there was a power pole hit on Pratt Avenue, and I happened to know from a reliable source that was there that day that this was CIA students.
Wow.
Unfortunate.
Pratt Avenue.
Everyone was fine. They walked back to the dorms.
All right.
This is interesting. It's near the one that I read earlier about a woman making a disturbance with her broom. And this is not around Halloween. Via 911, Sonoma County jurisdiction, individual reported someone around house howling like a dog.
Oh, I have one quick thing we have to cover, and then I want to hear one more good log. How the police station moved.
The police station did move? Yep.
Everyone needs to know
It
this.
moved to Pope Street.
All of your listeners.
It's critical. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
That was
If
all.
if you find a gun on the street, you can now take it to the college.
And dispatches in Calistoga.
Yep. That sounds quite disjointed.
Upper Valley campus of Napa Valley College.
Yes.
At the end of Pope Street.
Yes.
Near Silverado Trail.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my PSA. That's
Very
all.
nice.
Okay, now we can close.
Thank you,
with
Hillary.
another good one. You're welcome.
Everyone will appreciate that. All 7 of the listeners.
Okay, we get like way more than that in an episode,
Whatever.
but it's okay.
Okay, so I have one question to finish it out. It's a little philosophical, but you've been, and we didn't really even talk about it, but you used to be a wildland firefighter flying in helicopters out to the fire, jumping out, putting out fire, which is really cool. Soft spot in my heart for those guys who work really, really, really hard. But having done that in your early, actually not even helitack, you were jumping into fires with a parachute.
No.
I thought you did
Helitack.
that too.
No, I didn't.
All helitack.
It wasn't
Okay.
smoke jumper. That's a whole different another
Smoke
level.
jumper is intense. But having done that early in life and then into winemaking kind of after that in later in life, what is there a common thread or some motivational thing that you think of between the two that you
Or
think
like
about
something
as
you
you make
learned
wine?
from the first and brought into
There
the
you go.
winemaking.
Yeah.
I've never been asked that question, so
Kudos.
Right?
that's an original question.
Original questions bringing you joy. We're really knocking it out of the park.
I know. I don't know what. I'm glad we're going to close soon because this is getting to be a bit much, just emotionally. But I would say some of it just has to do with working hard, and I think I was raised in a family where you were taught, to finish the job and try to do a good job at whatever you're doing. But I think firefighting, I remember many times, you're working a fire line and the fire's out, but there are smoke, there are hot spots and you got to patrol to those hot spots, and the same goes with making wine. Being in business for myself is, stay with it and pay attention to the details because they matter. And I'm riffing here, but I think there's some parallel, and obviously there's hoses involved in both.
That's the best.
No, but I learned about hydraulics.
Yeah.
I actually, when I was on the UC Davis Fire Department,
Uh-huh.
there's more firefighting than me than you know.
Yeah.
And I ran an engine for a while. You learn about hydraulics,
Yeah.
and you start thinking about some of those. I won't go into friction loss and all that,
Sure.
but
It all works.
when you're using a wine pump, there are things and lift and all those kind of things that you think about when you're pumping water from a hydrant or whatever.
What you learned in firefighting that helped you in winemaking.
So
And there's hoses involved in both. That is the name of our podcast tonight.
But we have this in common, Chris.
Yeah.
Firefighting.
Love
winemaking.
hoses.
Okay.
Cheers.
Yay!
Oh, wait. Where can we find
Oh, yes.
Ad Vivum?
Ad Vivum
Ad
is
Vivum.
you'll get it.
We're gonna redub this and
Well,
say
Ad Vivum Cellars,
Vivum.
advivumcellars.com.
Cool.
I monitor that site. I do everything. So I will be the one to answer your query if anyone's interested in purchasing. Or contact Chris Morazzoli or Hillary Happy, and then I'll give you a commission.
Well, there we go.
Well, here's to Ad Vivum.
Yeah.
Finally got it right.
Cheers.
To life.
Yay.
To life. Cheers. Thanks, Chris.
And we're wine and life meat. Cheers.
Well, Hillary, that was a fun episode.
That was a great episode. I feel like we learned a lot.
Definitely. Philosophy, the word tension.
A whole new set of vocabulary.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed our fall harvest episode. I hope everyone is getting a little bit of sleep as they're out there picking, and some great wine is going to be made.
And I completely agree, Hillary. Speaking of sleep, I am about to go do that right now.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Harvest is, let's just say, thank goodness this is a podcast, because though you are wonderfully enthusiastic,
I look a little haggard.
it's not your best look, but I appreciate that you're showing up.
I'm here. That's half the battle.
Exactly.
Thanks, everybody, and happy harvesting.
Bye.